Good evening and welcome to TiVi Tuần-san News of the Week. My name is Emma Doe. In what's making headlines this week, a fire in the tourist town of Nha Trang leaves 400 people homeless. Japan promises Vietnam 6 patrol ships. And budget airline Jetstar to fly direct to Vietnam. In this week's top story, a large fire has destroyed 74 houses and left 400 people homeless in the Vietnamese beach town of Nha Trang. According to local media, the blaze on Tuesday evening broke out at a house in the province of Vĩnh Phúc after a resident fell asleep while cooking animal feed. The fire is reportedly the biggest on record in the city and lasted for about 4 hours. Nha Trang is the main tourist attraction of southern Vietnam's Thanh Hóa province, which recorded 3.6 million visitors in the first 9 months of 2016. The Vietnamese government has outlined strict requirements for local gamblers hoping to win big at casinos in the country. Last December, the Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc announced a 3-year pilot scheme allowing local punters into 2 casinos in Quảng Ninh province and Phu Quoc Island. Both casinos are still under construction with no opening date confirmed. The draft bill for the pilot scheme states that local gamblers must have a monthly income of at least $440 to enter the casino. There will be an entrance fee of $44 per person per day, while punters can be barred entry if their family members or in-laws formally request that casinos not allow them to play. The announcement marks a departure from Vietnam's strict anti-gambling laws, where street and social gambling outside of state-run lotteries is still banned. Previously, only foreign gamblers were allowed into Vietnamese casinos. Earlier this week, US Secretary of State John Kerry returned to the place in Vietnam where he killed a man during the Vietnam War. The outgoing Secretary of State visited the Mekong Delta area as part of his last foreign trip. While retracing his steps, he met a 70-year-old former member of the Viet Cong who told Kerry he knew a man that Kerry had shot and killed during the war. Kerry's shot took down a Viet Cong member holding a rocket launcher, and he was later awarded a US military Silver Star for saving his crew. On his return to America after being wounded in action, Kerry became a prominent anti-war activist in the late 60s. Kerry will officially step aside tomorrow when the Trump administration takes power. Ho Chi Minh City has issued a code of conduct for tourists, calling on visitors to respect local customs and culture and not to damage historical relics. The guidelines are printed on a series of flashcards available from Tuần-san Airport and 5-star hotels. The cards are translated into languages including English, Chinese, Korean, Russian and Vietnamese. Among the other do's and don'ts for tourists are notes against consuming, buying or selling illegal substances, and broader guides include respecting the elderly, disabled, children and women. The Tourism Board said the guide was timely, considering Vietnam's target of 5.6 foreign visitors for 2017. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has promised Vietnam 6 new patrol boats worth $338 million. Prime Minister Abe made the pledge during his visit to Hanoi on Monday, where he expressed support to enhance Vietnam's maritime law enforcement. Despite Abe's support for strengthening the country's maritime security, he emphasised that the regional South China Sea dispute should be settled through talks. The stopover in Hanoi marks the last of Abe's tour across Southeast Asia, where he also talked about maritime safety with Indonesia, the Philippines and Australia. Japan is Vietnam's biggest foreign investor after South Korea. 165 Vietnamese fishermen detained by Indonesia for illegal fishing will be released before the Vietnamese Lunar New Year. In 2016, Indonesia arrested a record 1,100 illegal fishermen from Vietnam. Most were detained for 3 to 4 months on Indonesia's Batam Island. But despite the latest announcement to send the fishermen home before that, around 200 fishermen will remain in detention. Meanwhile, in Malaysia, 23 Vietnamese fishermen have also been detained for illegal fishing. The men were spotted on Monday operating 2 trawlers in Malaysia's state waters. A colonel from Vietnam's Coast Guard explained to the state-run Vietnam Express news agency that many fishermen were unaware of international maritime laws. Earlier this week, a rural district in Vietnam's northwest hosted a number of Australian rugby stars running workshops with local kids. Rio Olympians Lewis Holland and Nicole Beck didn't expect to find a rugby program in Vietnam's Hoa Binh province, but they were greeted by 1,300 Vietnamese and Laotian girls and boys ready to take on the challenge. A separate women's and men's cup tournament played out on Sunday with the Lao All-Stars and Thien Diehl claiming victory in their respective cups. The program, called Pass It Back, is run by the not-for-profit Child Fund Australia and works to develop leadership skills in disadvantaged communities. Australian low-cost airline Jetstar has today announced it's launching direct flights between Sydney and Melbourne to Ho Chi Minh City. Currently, Vietnam Airlines is the only non-stop carrier between Australia and Vietnam. In a statement, Jetstar said the inaugural flights were scheduled to take off from Melbourne and Sydney to Ho Chi Minh City on May 10 and May 11 respectively. The airline will fly direct to Ho Chi Minh City 4 times weekly from Sydney and 3 times weekly from Melbourne. Australia will soon allow the import of fresh Vietnamese dragon fruit into the country. The move comes after a 10-month review, which saw members of the Australian Department of Agriculture and Water Resources visit major dragon fruit production areas in Vietnam to observe operations. In its final report, the department recommended permitting imports of fresh dragon fruit to Australia from all commercial production areas of Vietnam. But Australian Ambassador to Vietnam, Craig Chittick, said both governments will need to undertake a few more steps before trading can begin. In 2016, Vietnam exported more than 1 million tonnes of dragon fruit. Melburnians continue to celebrate one of the most important days in the Vietnamese culture. The Lunar New Year, which marks the arrival of spring based on the Vietnamese calendar, falls on January 28 this year and welcomes the Year of the Rooster. On Sunday, thousands of people flocked to Melbourne's western suburb of Footscray to experience the second Lunar New Year festival. Van Nguyen has the story.
The streets of Footscray were brought to life with the sights, sounds and smells of Vietnamese culture on Sunday the 15th of January. The East Meets West Lunar New Year Festival, which ran from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m, showcased a festival parade, cultural dances, musical performances, food stalls and carnival rides. It's the 26th year that the Lunar New Year festivals have been held in the western suburb of Melbourne and celebrates the importance of Lunar New Year to the Vietnamese, Chinese and other Australian Asian communities. Festival organiser and president of the Footscray Asian Business Association, Wing La, explained the event's slogan to TiVi Tuần-san reporter Hong An Nguyen.
Yes, because more than 20 years ago, it was said this was the gate where the Western civilization met the Occidental civilization, because a lot of the Vietnamese who love freedom live there. This is why we use the slogan, the East Meets West Lunar New Year Festival.
3, 2, 1! The festival is started from this moment. Thank you very much. And Happy New Year!
The family-friendly event draws in thousands each year. Mayor of the city of Maribyrnong, Councillor Catherine Cumming, commended the festival's official opening ceremony and added that much more was to come.
What do you feel about this event?
Well, it's fantastic. It's the 26th year this year and it just keeps getting better. We had the best opening ever with God Bless Footscray with the Vietnamese rappers, and there's plenty of entertainment all day right up until 10 o'clock, where at Footscray Market there'll be fireworks on top of the Footscray Market.
The next Thet festivals will take place on Sunday the 22nd of January in Melbourne's Richmond and Springvale suburbs. Van Nguyen, TiVi Tuần-san.
That's all from TiVi Tuần-san News of the Week. For more stories, you can follow TiVi Tuần-san at tvtsonline.com.au and Facebook at TiVi Tuần-san. I'm Emma Doe. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to your company at the same time next week.